So officially, good morning and welcome to Wednesday, March 22nd's call. So glad to be here. We have company this morning as our sharing. This is Savage. He's decided he needs to be here this morning for a little bit, so I will honor that. What I wanted to talk about today was safety, and the feeling of safety, the feeling of security is an illusion. And so it's so interesting because, our brains are wired for safety and security. But the ways and means to have that, right, to create that, to manifest that, that's the illusion. So we might think that like money helps us feel safe and secure, or love helps us feel safe and secure. But so when we do that, then we're allowing something outside of ourselves to provide the safety and security. And so what happens then when that thing's not there, right? With the money that we're used to, or the love that we're used to, having the companionship that we're used to, or even the physical health, right, that we're used to. If that's not there, then we go into a space and place where we start to feel, and your words will be more important, of course, than mine. So is it a feeling of insecurity or non-secure, right? Do we feel unsafe or not safe? And so then there's this feeling of not being safe either. So in both capacities, the feeling of whether it's feeling safe or not feeling safe, that's the illusion, right? There's no truth, like capital T, truth to that. What is true, though, is that you, the divine, you, the human being, you create your own safety and security. And so, and even more, I guess, to that point is creating certainty. So can we use different words? Meaning, how do you create certainty in your life? Right? And what would certainty feel like for you? What does it look like for you? And then owning that the only person who can create certainty is you. But before you create the certainty, it's to ask yourself, the question is, what part of your life feels uncertain? What part of your life feels confused? And if the word area works better, then use the word area. What part of your life lacks clarity, which is different than confusion, right? And so when you understand what parts of your life feel that way, then you can ask yourself, okay, so what do I need to change? Like, what needs to change in myself to create certainty? And what this does is it empowers you to realize that you are so powerful, so empowered, so emboldened to create your own certainty. And what happens with that is this realization that confidence comes from knowing that you create your own certainty. So you don't have to wait for things to happen before you feel confident. You can go, if I know that confidence, if I'm willing to accept that confidence comes from having certainty in my life. And here's the things that I'm uncertain of, and here's what who I need to be differently, or what I need to do different, or what changes need to happen within me to create more certainty. Then I can be confident knowing that I can create that, even if I don't have certainty, right? And so then when we understand that, okay, well, I'm confident that I can create that. right? And the non-confidence or unconfidence comes from you believing that you don't have the power to have a different outcome. You don't have the power to create something different, that which means that you're giving up your sovereignty, right? You're believing falsely that things happen to you and not happen for you. You're believing the illusion that there's some sort of guru out there, right? Or something out there that's outside of you that's going to make your life better. Only if this would happen, then life would. If I had more money, I would feel better. If I had more love, I would feel better. If I had more health, I would feel better. And it doesn't work like that. That's an effect. More money, more health, more love, right? More confidence. Those are effects. The cause is you, right? The cause is you. And there's no guilt or shame meant for that. There's no like, I suck in that. That's like, that's so cool. That is so cool that I can have my own certainty by first understanding what parts of my life don't feel certain, and then asking divine self what needs to change, right? What parts of me need change? And so that I can create my own certainty. And then you can ask yourself, okay, so then what am I resisting? So what am I resisting being, doing, or having? Right. And it might be things that you aren't even aware of, right? Like I realized once that I was resisting responsibility. I would, for some reason, I was feeling responsible for people. And I was like, although logically I knew that I wasn't responsible, right? There was a part of me that was feeling responsible. And so for me, how I moved through that was I reminded myself that yes, I am a very powerful woman over my own sovereignty, but I hold nothing over you, right? Or my children or Rob. I'm not responsible for my children. I'm not responsible for Rob, right? I'm not responsible for their results. As a coach, I'm not responsible for my clients' results. I'm only responsible for me and how I show up and my creations and my manifestations. And this can be difficult because how often have you taken on the responsibility, right, of your children? And how often does society tell us that we're responsible for our children? I remember once a friend of mine saying, oh, her kids are so bad. Like, she needs to reel them in. And I was like, how do you reel in a 4-year-old? Like, could you let me know? Right? And yes, we're meant to be their guides, but reeling them in, it's like when, Jacob. So Jacob can be a bit of a shit disturber. I wonder where he gets that from, right? And so, but he's more blatant about it, right? So I was a bit of a shit disturber, but I was really sly. Like I was manipulative. I was a little bit passive aggressive. So people didn't know that about me, right? I did a good job of hiding that. Jacob doesn't feel the need to hide it. Jacob likes to poke the bear, right? He wants to have these really intense, in-depth conversation with people. And so, one day Darcy's mom, he was little, said to me, you need to tell him how inappropriate that conversation is. And I said, why? She said, it makes people feel uncomfortable. And I said, well, that's their problem. Like, and I've said to her, like, Jacob knows there's consequences to poking the bear. Like he's aware, right? He's aware that people might be angry with him, and he's aware that he might be left out. He's experienced that, so he's in awareness of it, and yet he chooses to poke the bear. So what, in how I raise my children, I realized that, and as adults watching them, it's easier when they get to be adults that we don't accept responsibility for their behavior, right? And then I say that though, but how often have maybe a spouse has done something, or right, or your kids, and you're embarrassed. You're like, I can't believe they did that, right? How many parents, if their children are right, breaking the law, accept responsibility for their behavior, or they wash themselves of it because they out of guilt and shame. I mean, you can like bless and release. They are their own, right? And whatever happens with them, happens with them. There's consequences, like that's the whole 12-step program, and still love them up. But we're not used to doing that. So in your uncertainty, right, you can ask them, what am I resisting? So that was that last piece of it, because it could be something that you're not even in awareness of. And I share this with you because it's the reminder that you're meant for more. Like, you're meant to have more, be more, and do more. You're meant to have and be and do whatever it is that you can possibly imagine. Right? So if you're imagining it, then you're meant to have it. But the challenge can be, if you can imagine it, what is the it? What is the it? And allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to dream, right? Without having to know how to accomplish it, without feeling guilty or shameful about wanting something, right? Wanting something so grand, right? And giving and allowing that, right? Allowing our past to release, right? Just let it go, and not stand on our past even. Like, what would, I use this lots. If you didn't have a memory of your past, if you couldn't remember from yesterday, and we're just in universe, we're just playing a game, right? If you couldn't remember that, right, your past from yesterday beyond, like, right, would you show up differently? And you would, because you don't have a past to direct you. You just have like today, right? And so you can create whatever it is that you want. There's a great movie out with Harrison Ford like years ago. I think it's called Henry or Harry. And he was, I think he was a doctor, like some sort of surgeon or some sort of businessman, really focused on his career. And the storyline is, I think he was in an accident or was mugged or something, and he lost his memory, right? Amnesia, right? Of who he was. And so he was not a kind man. Him and his wife were talking about divorce like the day of, and he was never there to be around his kids. And then he has this accident, and he shows up differently. And he's this kind, like, loving individual, and it freaks everybody out because they're used to him being an ass. And then this story unfolds about him rebuilding his life. And I remember thinking, what a cool storyline it was, and how much our past influences us. So what if we could be selective of our, like, and we just reminded ourselves of all the brilliant times we showed up in our past, right? Would you behave differently today? Would you have more confidence? Would you have more certainty? Are you willing to let your past go? And are you willing to let the past of others go? Like I had one of my business partners said um, that people look at people's past to remind you of how they're going to treat you, or to be an awareness of how they're going to show up in your life. And there's a part of me like, yeah, that makes sense. There's a part of me that's horrible. Like, because I wouldn't want to be judged on the shit that I did in my past, right? Like, right? So, I mean, there's some brilliant things I've done. So yeah, just judging on that. If you're like, judging on that one, not on the dark side of me, not on the wounded side of me. And I thought, to me, it was like, I would never want to hold someone accountable to their past. But how often do we do that? All the time, right? Well, he won't like if I do that, right? And there might be truth to that. Like there might be truth to like how they show up. But what if they didn't? And right? What if we could only remember the past of the great things? What if we just gave people credit? Right? And so we can approach life in a different way. Right? We can approach it with this, right? But what part of it feels uncertain? What are you holding on to of your past? That's the next question I'm getting now for you. What are you holding on to from your past that it's just time to let it go? And uh same thing with your people that you love. Or is there forgiveness that needs to happen? Right? Will you let people not show up the same? They don't need to, right? And that could be like, I remember when Jacob was going through a phase of and he's in high school, he was lying, and he got caught, and he was doing marijuana before it was legal. So he was 16 and he was doing marijuana, and I only had really three rules in the house, right? Which is, don't lie to me, um don't don't do drugs, right? And knowing full well that there will be an experimental time. So I just said to my kids, I would really prefer that you didn't do drugs until you were at least old enough, like 18 and older, that your brain wasn't going to be affected as much, right? And that you at least understood the consequences at a deeper level. And so and he broke all of those rules. So there were severe consequences for him, right? And I remember the struggle that I had in trusting him based on his past behavior. And I remember him saying to me one day, when will you forgive me? When will you not hold that over my head? And what I wanted him to do was to prove to me that he changed, which was very arrogant because he had nothing to prove, right? He had nothing to prove. And I think part of we do that for ourselves. We have to prove that we've changed to let our past go, or prove that we've done something. And can we just let it go? Can we just let go of having to be an approving energy? Because that's exhausting, right? That's exhausting. So just to kind of review, right? What parts of your life feels uncertain, confused, or lacks clarity? And then what do you need to change in yourself to create your own, right, certainty? Because we're talking about certainty is created with you. And then what are you resisting, right? And when you understand that piece, right, that feels uncertain, right? And notice how I didn't ask you to find clarity or to create clarity. It's just what part of that, because in order to have clarity, change has to happen. And that change will come from within you. It could be something simple, and it could be something like profound. But yeah, so just little bits of information today, not a whole bunch, just one really one thread. I think tomorrow, I'll just share with you tomorrow, I think at this time, anyhow, this morning I was guided to move into some foundational pieces of marketing tomorrow. Now, to be honest, that might change because, oh, Anna, is that meant for you? Love you. Thank you for sharing. Um, so today I'm in a workshop for ChatGPT again. So it's the third part of this series that I ended up purchasing. And so I'll share more if if your guides are telling my guides, right? So it's a compelled, if I'm compelled through our guides to share more about the chat. Tomorrow I will not, I'm sure it's going to come out. I've been playing around with it for marketing purposes, and also for just you can use chat to develop policies and procedures and things like that as well. And so it's, it's been awesome. Hang on, there's a message there about chat. Hey. Sorry, when oh, that one came with a bit of ringing of the ears. Be in awareness. Oh, that was cool. Sorry. Be in awareness. I almost said beware, which is not a like right, and then the guides were like, no, not beware, Ranchelle, which is why they're ringing in the ears. Be in awareness when you're following someone that's teaching marketing. So even like, right, even me, never take, oh, that's not the word either. Come on, English, please. Okay, I won't translate. Be in awareness that sometimes when you follow people in their information and knowledge, that it's a work in progress. So that they're not trying to mislead you on purpose. They don't have necessarily all of the information yet. And they're teaching it from a place of getting energy, and their intention is to serve you. Like it's a true a true intention, but there's a little bit of lack energy attached to it. So this is very unusual, so thanks everyone for sticking with me. Sherry, that message is for you. I don't usually get like who it's for, everyone. Like it's usually just a general information that I share. And so, but Sherry, that one's for you. So, and we can have a conversation around that if you want to. But it's very specifically for, I mean, that might resonate with other people as well. But that one was specifically for Sherry today. Wow. Yeah, I know, right? Cool. I was like, well, that was kind of cool. Well, and was it for you too? Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the marketing one was specific for Sherry, but perhaps maybe Anna was for you too. Thank you so much for saying that. Cause I was like, yeah, cool. All right. Maybe it's for the collective as well. Thank you. Okay. There's more there. But it's not coming to me at this moment. I won't force it. And so if it comes up, I'll just do the message. Oh, because you're becoming a teacher. Oh, how awesome. How awesome. Okay. That's fantastic. All right, everyone. Have an incredible day. Sarah, I will get that information for you today. And we'll talk to everyone right? Sherry, the information, I'll get that to you today as well. Thanks, everyone. Love you. Bye.